Hey, what's going on guys? Dan Watson, Learning Cameras, and I've got the Canon T7i, and I've actually had this camera for a while now, and I really wanted to put it through its paces because every year Canon has given us a new entry-level camera, but really it hasn't been until this camera that I've seen them push so many features, especially from higher-end cameras like the 6D Mark II and stuff like that, into this entry-level camera. So we're really seeing that from the first time. The last time we saw this was probably the Canon T2i. In fact, the Canon T5i had essentially nothing new from the Canon T4i except some creative mode. So Canon actually passed that camera off as a brand new camera even though it wasn't. Well, now we have a genuinely new camera with some really exciting features. So I can't wait to dive into this camera and show you what it is about. Now, in that meantime, while Canon has really not been pushing out a whole lot of features, we've had a lot of new cameras from Fuji, from Sony, even Nikon has thrown some stuff out there. So we're going to kind of compare it to that. Canon itself has also introduced some new cameras. We have the 77D, which is a slight upgrade on this we'll compare it to. And then Canon has a mirrorless line of cameras that I've actually been using the mirrorless cameras for a long time. I haven't really upgraded them in some recent time, but we'll kind of compare it to that and see why this might be a better camera for you than some of those options. Check out the links below. In the description below, I do have the ability to comment, so please hit me up right there if you have any questions on this camera, concerns. If you're looking for the best price, I've got some links on there. I'll post some sales. While you're down there, please like, subscribe. I appreciate it, guys. And then I also have a Facebook group where we're kind of showing off our images from these cameras. So take a look at the Facebook group if you get this camera, and you can share some images and get some feedback from some other people. So let's dive in to the Canon T7i and see what this thing has to offer. Let's talk about the body itself. It's very similar to what you've seen on Canon cameras. Canon has not done anything really revolutionary inside of this, but overall the design is very nice. We do have a mic input, no headphone, but I don't really expect an entry-level camera. We do have NFC, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, so all the connection options that you would expect. You only have one control wheel up on the front right here. If you move to the 77D, they're gonna have another one on the back as well, and you can navigate through that pretty well. The touchscreen on here is amazing. It's one of the best touchscreens that you'll find in any camera, period. Canon is doing revolutionary stuff with that. It's a flip-out display, so that's great if you want to do self-shooting. The menu system on this is actually extremely, there's two modes. You have an easy mode, so if you're kind of new to cameras, it gives you only the essential operations, and it really breaks things down and gives you a good understanding of what you're doing. And then if you're a more advanced user, you can enable that advanced menu system, and it gives you kind of the traditional Canon style DSLR menu system where you can navigate some of the advanced functions, change names, do some really cool stuff in there. So overall, it's a really creative camera, and while we're not seeing anything revolutionary here, that's fine because what Canon is doing, it's doing it well. And with that touchscreen integration, the controls, and the overall feel of the body, it's lightweight, it's small. It feels pretty rugged despite it being mostly plastic, but if you're looking for a small, lightweight DSLR with a good size grip on it that's able to interchange some lenses to some really good lenses. I mean, you can go from anything like this entry-level lens to something like this on this camera, and it works perfectly. And you get the same great autofocus. So if you know any other people with Canon cameras, you can borrow their lenses and put them on this, and it'll work just fine. Any Canon DSLR in recent time is going to take these lenses. Another big feature in this camera is actually the focus system. We now have the exact same 45-point all-cross type focus system as Canon's higher-end cameras stuffed into this body, and that is great to see because it is performing extremely well, had no issues focusing on anything. This will be great from anything from sports, if your kids are playing sports, anything like that, down to just virtually everything that you're looking for. It's gonna be pretty good. Even in low light, it does very well. And another signature Canon achievement is gonna be that dual pixel autofocus system. So if you're someone who likes to use live view, what you probably noticed is DSLRs in the past, unless you were using some of Canon's higher end systems, they just weren't good in autofocus in live view. And if you're using video or the screen to compose, you need good focus in live view. And that is where Canon has excelled. That dual pixel autofocus system that first made an entry in some higher end cameras is now in this camera, and I really didn't think that they would stuff it in this. So we have good, reliable, continuous autofocus while composing using the screen and using video. That is worth it. If you're looking at cameras like the Nikon D5600, unfortunately Nikon right now, that's their biggest issue right now, is that they don't have good focusing in live view. So if you're someone who likes to compose with the screen, this is going to be one of the best options that you can consider. We're also seeing some big new technology on the photo side of things. The quality has definitely improved. We're dealing with a 24 megapixel sensor that first kind of made its way into the 80D, which is above this camera, but has now made its way into Canon's entry-level cameras, the 77D and the T7i, and it offers some genuine improvements in sensor technology. It overall was great quality images. The dynamic range has improved significantly. I wouldn't say it's quite as good as what Nikon and Sony and even Fuji have been doing lately, but it is right up there with it. Canon's colors have always been good, and so very pleasing images and tones straight out of the camera. If you like to shoot RAW, tons of ways to edit this in post and get some amazing dynamic range off of it. It's really the first time that we've seen this big step up from Canon sensor technology in quite some time. Now, on the video side of things, this is the area that we really haven't seen Canon push the technology too much forward. But again, this is an entry-level camera, and it basically has the same features as many of Canon's higher-end cameras. And we're dealing with 1080p video, and you get that up to 60 frames per second. So if you want to shoot some slow motion, you can. It's not legendary. We don't have 4K. And overall, the amount of detail in the image is just kind of suffering. Canon's way of transforming this 24 megapixel sensor into HD video is just not great. And so, yeah, it's not super sharp, not super detailed as some other cameras like the Sony A6300 and things like that. But overall, it's very good. Autofocus is effective. The colors are good. And I was absolutely fine with the performance for an entry-level camera. If you don't need the ultimate in-movie technology, it's going to be very nice to have. And also, it works very well for vlogging style stuff with a screen that flips out and wide angle lenses like this that are very inexpensive. This is a 10 to 18 millimeter, and it is stabilized. And so, yeah, for even things like vlogging, this works really well. You do have that mic input, which is great to see. No headphones, but I don't really expect that from an entry-level camera like this. And the ability to add some external mics and use this as kind of that selfie camera is a really nice way to go on this. And so, yeah, for video performance, it's not the best out there, but what is in here is very good. It's been around for a while, and for an entry-level camera, I'm absolutely fine with this. What I'm not okay with is when Canon is using much of the same technology into higher-end $2,000 cameras. That's where it doesn't belong. Canon needs to up their game. But for the T7i, I really think that you're going to enjoy the video performance. So let's talk about some of the other competition, because there is a ton right now. Internally from Canon, we have the 77D and their mirrorless line. If you're looking for a comparison with the 77D, I've got a video. Check out that link right there. Hit that up. It's a breakdown of both the 77D and the T7i. I had both of them hands-on, took some pictures with them, and you can kind of see the difference between them. But other than some very minor hardware differences and then the ability to shoot some more time-lapse options, it really isn't that big of a deal. So if you're looking for a small light body and you don't care about some extra controls, this might be the better camera for you. Canon also has its mirrorless line of cameras, and while they're very effective at what they are, there's a big problem with them that I still don't recommend with them, and that is because the lens system for the Canon mirrorless cameras are different. It requires an adapter to use these kind of lenses, and the lenses that Canon has available for those cameras right now, they're not good. And so it's a very limited lens setup, and until Canon upgrades their mirrorless lines of lenses, I would stay away from that. I would still go with this. If you need a mirrorless camera, don't go Canon right now because they just don't have the lenses to support it. So unless you're good with that kit lens and nothing else ever, then I probably would step up to either the 77D, T7i, even the SL2 is going to be a good option from Canon, or check out the mirrorless cameras from Sony and Fujifilm. And that's where I'll kind of get. I have reviews also for the Sony A6300 and the Fuji X-T20, which are both excellent mirrorless cameras, and you should be on your radar if you're looking for a camera like this. They are smaller, lighter. Both of them have good lens lineups. Sony's a little bit more expensive if you want to get into some nice lenses than it would be for Fuji and Canon, so keep that in mind. And there are some feature differences between them, but those two cameras offer better video options, especially with that Sony, and then a little bit better image quality. They don't quite have the ergonomics of this DSLR, especially the Sony is a little bit harder to use, as well as the Fujifilm has some more retro dials that if you're not used to photography could intimidate you a little bit. But if you're looking for the ultimate in ergonomics, it's just solid all around good camera, this is still an option to go with, despite those being maybe a little bit better image quality performance and a little bit better in video as well. Overall, I'd have to say that the Canon T7i is actually one of my favorite cameras from Canon right now. And it's not that it's the best camera, it's that it is just good at what it does, and given the price point and what it's marketed for, it is a great camera for that entry-level photographer who's looking for a little bit more in quality, the ability to change lenses. It has all that. It has good autofocus. It has even some pro-end features that'll hold you over for a while in a body that just makes sense. Where Canon is not doing a great job is their higher-end cameras right now, that it still is not pushing more advanced features than what we see right here in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, this is a great camera to go with. If you're on the fence between some of the other mirrorless cameras, it's going to be a matter of whether or not you want those better video controls. If you like using the screen versus the optical viewfinder, if you like using a screen, it might be a great option to use one of those. I think Nikon, the D5600 and the D3000 series is really not as good at this, despite it being possibly a little bit better in image quality performance. Because of who this is marketed for, the ease and use of the screen with the dual pixel autofocus system, I really think the Canon is doing a better job in these entry-level cameras right now. So I would stick with Canon on that one. Compared to the Sony and Fuji, you might see some other options, but if you're looking for an all-around ergonomic, it uses all of Canon's lenses. If you have some family or if you've been used to using Canon cameras for a while, you're probably going to want to stick with that system. This is a solid upgrade, especially if you're coming from those early on entry-level Canon T4Is and things like that. This is going to be a good upgrade for you. I highly recommend it. Again, check out the stuff below. If there's any sales on this, I will let you know. Actually, they're doing a $50 sale right now. So check out the links for that. Join our Facebook group. Ask me any questions below. Appreciate the like and subscribe. Stay tuned. A whole lot more videos to come. And the comparison between this and 77D should set you straight. So again, take a look at that, as well as the reviews for the Sony A6300 and as well for the Fuji X-T20, which are some excellent cameras to also consider. Stay tuned, a whole lot more to come. Thanks for watching, guys.